his friends knocked the door and walked away the other day with an Easter egg, and they were on the other side of the street, and they played for about 10 minutes on either side of the road playing imaginary volleyball, and he was buzzing. He was so happy.
Hey Lawrence.
Hey Josh.
I've been thinking about the podcast. How about in the first series we focus on the pandemic?
Yeah, and in each episode we can ask our guest how it's been affecting them and what they do.
We could ask people to join in with the hashtag #PosNegative.
How would we introduce it each week?
We'll just say, welcome to Positive Negative. Okay, so next up is our friend Simon Tucker. Both Lawrence and I have known Si for about 15 years. We met at uni. Si and I were both ENTS officers in our student union, and I was his deputy in fact. And I quite confidently say that I've not met many people who know more about music that's worth listening to than Si. In fact, probably no one. In this conversation, he talks about Tangled Parrot, the independent record shop in Carmarthen that I've not been to for years but have such fond memories of. He tells us about his sobriety during the lockdown and how he's adjusting to the challenges of homeschooling a 7-year-old. And before we press record, we talked about my son, who's nearly 2.5, and his love for David Bowie. And just a few days later, the Low album appeared at our door in a package addressed to him. Thank you, Si. So do you want to just start by introducing yourself and just talk a little bit about what you do, what you've done, and yeah.
So yeah, my name's Simon Tucker. I work in Tangled Parrot Records in Carmarthen, which is an independent record shop. I write music reviews, do music journalism, and I present a music show, a radio show, should I say, once a month on Radio Free Matlock. And I do a lot of work with the charity Hope Not Hate as well.
So how has COVID-19 and the lockdown, how's that had an impact on you?
The effect it's had really is that I've been furloughed from work. So I'm at home. My wife's working from home. She works in insurance, so she's able to work from home. But I obviously retail, I can't do that. So I'm basically looking after our 7-year-old son. So I've had to quickly adapt to try and be a homeschooler. And I've realized that I'm not very good at homeschooling. It's quite difficult. And then, yeah, that's just it really. I'm just trying to stay at home, and I try and do my exercise once a day. And really, that's all. The whole change has just been that really, just adapting to working from home and teaching from home.
And how's the homeschooling been then? Have you been supported by the teachers? Does it feel kind of organised and structured?
We had an email 2 days ago saying that they will be sending out some home learning stuff soon. But I think, to be fair to them, the headmaster said that he would rather us concentrate on just looking after the children mentally instead of concerning with schooling and education. So that was really nice to hear from the headmaster. He just said, all we got to focus on is just looking after them and try and keep them upbeat and shield them from the news as much as possible. Because obviously from like 7 up and now they're really absorbing things, what's going on around them. But they are going to be giving out lessons soon. And my son's also part of a Beaver group. So like the younger version of Scouts. So they're sending out work to do for their badges, which will be good. So they can do badges from home. But schooling wise, it's been very difficult because once I'm no, like I said, I'm no teacher. I find it difficult to go back to maths and French and history and things like that. So I've had to try and adapt it. What I've done is I've got my son doing music reviews. So we have a look at a certain band or artist and we do some research on them on the internet. So that's a bit of history there. And then I play him 2 songs and he has to write down what he thinks about the songs, why he liked them, why he didn't like them. So
great.
That's what we've done there, really.
So what, as a parent of a young child, how have you kind of explained the coronavirus, or like, how have you dealt with all the things that are happening at the moment? I mean, in terms of explaining it to him, or
well, we've just told him that there's we've been quite upfront with him and said there's a nasty virus going around, and it's like the flu, but it's hurting people who are already sick or older people, and just try and say like that. And then really he just refers to it as the virus, and he knows that obviously a lot of things have changed. But apart from the nitty gritty, we don't really go into. Try not to watch the news when he's around. Sometimes he can clock a bit of it. Trying to see if he's looking over our shoulder, if I'm, on Twitter or something on my phone. So try and shield him from as much as that as possible, really. That's been the main aim. And you try and keep his spirits upbeat, and because he's, 7, they've got a lot of energy at that age. So, he's bouncing off the walls, bless him, he is. And the hardest part for me, I think, for children that age is that not the education part of it, but it's actual playtime with his friends. I think, however good I am, I'm still a 40-year-old father who hasn't got the imagination and energy levels of a 7-year-old. And his friends knocked the door and walked away the other day with an Easter egg, and they were on the other side of the street, and they played for about 10 minutes on either side of the road playing imaginary volleyball. And he was buzzing. He was so happy. So I think that's been the hardest part of them mentally. It's just not interacting with kids their own age, because you know what it's like. They've got their own language, their own little slang words, the way they play with each other and stuff. And you can't match out when you're like I said, a 40-year-old.
No.
I'm way past that.
No, I think it's going to be like, I know for kids or for young people that were just about to do their exams, or are now going to not get to say goodbye to their friends at school as they go off to do whatever they're going to do. I think it's going to be there's going to be a massive impact on them, but then also for younger kids of, well, I guess any age really. Like our son is coming up to 2.5, and he's kind of, we walk up the street, and he knows that all the shops are closed, and he kind of points to them and says, "Oh, shop's closed, coronavirus." So he's kind of knows what's, to some extent knows what's going on, but it's going to be, I hope, interesting rather than troublesome to see how it affects young people in the long term. This complete changes.
We won't really know that either, will we, till about another 10 years or so, and you think about it, we never had anything like this in our age to grow up with. But the only thing I can compare it to, I was talking to Laura about it, was when I grew up, I had the Falklands War on the back of the on the news, and the IRA bombings, and then we had the Gulf War, which was like the first Gulf War, which was the very televised and technological war. So I kind of had this fear of something. You've got this paranoia of things there, but it still feels like it's over there, even though it's on the news. Whereas this is really like, literally on your doorstep. So I don't know what it is shocking. And I do think you're spot on when you say about kids who are doing exams and, leaving and not being able to say goodbye. It'd be harder for them, I think. For imagine what it's like not being able to see your girlfriend or boyfriend when you're about 14, 15.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a nightmare, that is. Isn't it? Stuck with mum and dad and you can't see your girlfriend or boyfriend. Oh, man. I'd be tortured. I'd be miserable. I'd be upstairs listening to the Smiths all the time. I would.
So just going back to where you work, and what has been the impact on not just your work, but for example, small independent record stores, the music industry, and maybe writers as well? What's been the impact of this on those people and the work that they do?
Well, it's been catastrophic for a lot of people. I have to be honest with you. A lot of businesses won't survive it. Independent record shops, I know a lot have gone mail order to survive. So they're still taking orders online and then going into the shop and grabbing them and posting them. But I know some people don't feel comfortable with that even, because they still feel like they're being part of the problem by going out there, because it's not essential. And it's difficult. I'm lucky. I feel really blessed. My boss, Matt, when this happened, he was really on top of things where I was concerned with about getting funding, making sure I keep getting my pay, things like that. He was really good. And he said that he felt a bit uneasy about promoting himself as, I'm still open, because in his opinion, and this is a guy who owns a music shop, records weren't essential. He said, I'd rather people spend money on food and, things like that. And he didn't want to encourage it, but he'll do a little bit of a social media post every now and then. All our stuff's on Discogs. So we are taking over like that. But he was quite supportive, and he said, I want people to, I want to have it'd be nice for me to have a break and just look after ourselves, and we'll come back when we're ready. So I was really pleased with that. you know, the way some corporations have been acting,
Yeah.
it's been pretty abysmal. So to have a boss that was like that, music industry wise, I think, again, talking about repercussions, I don't think we'll see the full repercussions of this for another few years, because it's the economy is not just record shops, but then you go bands not releasing albums because they can't get into the shops, because then they can't tour on the back of it, and people cancelling tours. When tours are cancelled, you get, it's not just the bands or the promoters, it's the bar staff, it's the cleaners, it's security, it's all people are losing income that they would have had. Small venues might go under. I know there's I think it's called Music Venues Trust, that's out there doing good work at the moment, trying to keep businesses afloat with advice and stuff. But music venues are suffering as it is. So this might be, you know, the final nail for quite a few of them, which will be so sad, because we need smaller to mid-level venues to survive more, so really, than bigger ones, I think. And then writing wise, I'm still getting loads of emails from, you know, people are releasing things in different ways, and there are people still commissioning, but not as much. Obviously budgets have been slashed and looking after, and staff are not there. But on a personal level, I just haven't been motivated to write. I just haven't had it at all. Like, even music, for me, when it first happened and I, you know, work closed and I came home to look after my son and everything, music suddenly became something just on in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost an emotional connection to it, which is like the first time that's happened to me since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I think it was kind of shock of the situation. And, you know, people have said, people have equated it to grief, haven't they, really, that what we're going through.
Yeah.
Kind of stages of grief. And it took one of these Tim Burgess listening parties. He did Mogwai's Come On Die Young, and that's one of my brother's favorite albums. And listening to that with my brother, knowing brother was listening to it, and again, that got me emotionally connected. And then the Saturday after, the Hacienda did like a 12-hour stream of all like K-Class and all acid house anthems, and the sun was shining, and I rediscovered my love of music again. But I think the thing that's been the biggest supporter has been radio.
Yeah.
I think it's, out of all the years that we thought radio might be dying out, it's seen the rebirth of radio. I mean, I don't know about yourself, but sometimes it's so difficult in this stage, especially when you've got children at home. You don't know what to put on, and you don't know what's suitable, all these things. Whereas I know while we're schooling and stuff, I can put 6 music on in the background and not have to worry about it.
Yeah.
We could just hear, we just have the radio playing, or, you know, have Radio 2 playing if we feel like that, because again, I'm 40. So, you know, Radio 2 or Radio 3 if I feel instrumental coming on. I'm way past Radio 1 now. I think radio has been seen such a resurgence in its popularity, and it's what it's done for people has been incredible. You just look at social media when the show's on, and I mean, listening figures, it'd be good to see the listening figures now of radio. Yeah. And I think playlists have become good. Like I was so anti-playlist. I was so anti-Spotify playlist and all that. And all of a sudden I'm getting musicians doing their own, oh, you're at home, well, here's stuff I'm enjoying, and I'm going through Spotify playlists and really enjoying them. And so it's changed my listening habits.
I don't know if you were listening to Six Music this morning, but they did. I switched on just before 9 o'clock, I think, this morning. And the first song was by 5, and it was, I don't even know what the song was. And then Scott Mills's voice came on, and I was like, what's this? I was like, who's put Radio 1 on our radio? I kind of looked at Amy, I was like, what's going on here? Why is Scott Mills talking to me in the morning? And then they were doing like this thing where they go between all, so they went from Radio 1 to 2 to 6 to 1 Extra, and then the Asian network. And it's
the UK sing-along, isn't it? The great UK sing-along.
I didn't know that.
Last week was a blinder, actually, because Radio 1's choice was Wonderwall. I can't stand that song. But, like, I don't know if it's because the situation was in, and I'm just, like, there making my porridge, and I'm nearly in tears going, like, 2 days. I don't believe, singing along like a... And then Six Music had Heroes by David Bowie. Yeah, that was,
I missed that.
That was proper emotional moment. And then, what was Radio 2 had Bill Withers, Lean On Me, and he just passed away, hadn't he? So it's quite emotional, actually. But yeah, Scott Mills, that man must be 60 years old. Still on Radio 1.
How has he kept his this morning?
No offense for you listening, Scott Mills.
So what do you think we're all getting from connecting remotely but through music? Like, what is it about that, the radio and playlists, like, kind of, what is it that we're getting from that?
I think listening to a radio show, you know that you are part of a collective that's doing the same thing at the moment, at the same time. That's just the very nature of radio. You're never the only person listening to a radio show, are you? So I think that, and I think the presenters need to pitch it right as well. I mean, again, coming back, at the age I am and everything, I couldn't bear like constantly happy chappy, hey guys, like Radio 1 kind of young lingo. And I shouldn't, Radio 1 shouldn't be for me. Like I said, I'm 40. If I was enjoying Radio 1, they're doing something wrong, not me. But if the presenters are right, like Lauren Laverne's fantastic. She gets that upbeat attitude, but does some like serious moments, and they have good guests. And I just think the selections are great. And Marianne Hobbs I love as well, and Craig Charles, I love his shows because I love his, I love the music he plays. So I think people are just getting that. I think it's communal again. It's bringing music back to its, its very essence, which is it's a communal experience. Music has always been and will always be a communal experience. And I think it's funny that the sad passing of Andrew Weatherall before this kicked off, and you go through interviews with him, and that's all he talked about was music as transcendence, music as community. He said there's no different from a rave or disco, as he called them, a disco with 2,000 people back to ancient man and woman, tribal, trying to transcend themselves through rhythmic music. There's no difference, and I think that's the power of music has come into it again. And I don't know, I mentioned it before, I don't know if you know about the Tim Burgess listening parties where, people press play on an album at the same time, and people on Twitter then talk about the album and stuff. And it's just this whole, it's weird because I thought people listened to albums from beginning to end again anyway. But again, that's a generational thing maybe, but it's nice knowing that a lot of people are doing the same thing at the same time. And it's very emotional. And again, it's that connection that we're all looking for. We're all seeking to be connected at this moment in time.
Yes. Yeah, okay. So how are you feeling today then? I think we're to just make a note of when we're recording. I think is this week 4 of the lockdown? I kind of lost track a little bit.
Yeah, week 4. They've just announced another 3 weeks, haven't they, today?
Yeah,
week 4. Today I'm good. It's been, I know, I'll be honest with you, I feel up and down because as you know, like I've been in recovery for alcoholism and addiction for a couple of years now. So I've been completely clean and sober for coming up to 3 years now. And I was worried when this all happened, obviously, because I can't get to meetings and stuff. But I got sponsor at the end of the phone, and Zoom has been a great thing, and or other meeting things are available. But we've gone online, and even though it's not the same as that interaction with another human being, at least it's still going.
Yep.
And I worked out that I'm not so worried about myself during the lockdown. It's when it gets released that I have to look after myself because I'm a very sociable person, and my my drinking and habits were never like insular things done in the privacy of my own home. It was always pubs and clubs and parties. I was never in. So that's when I'll have to be careful when I have the euphoria of being able to go out again. I talked to my sponsor about that, and we were laughing about it, saying, I'll be the one who has to be careful when this is all over. Which is it's true though. But I have up and down days mentally. Some days I get quite cranky and agitated, and just a bit overwhelmed by it all. And then other days I feel quite calm. And I think, I don't know, I'm probably talking, a lot of people probably feel the same way, but I think a lot of people put a lot of pressure on themselves doing this to be homeschooling, to be being the best parent they can be, to be being the best worker who's working from home hard and keeping their company afloat by working. Do you know what I mean? And I think we all need to allow ourselves a little bit of a de-steam every now and then, and let go of things a bit, because it's all changed. So I think we need to change ourselves, our attitudes as well a bit, because we are programmed not to sit on our own and just not do anything. Like it's like there's a guilt in us for being sat on our own, like just sitting in a chair doing nothing at all, reading nothing. Like how many of us can do that without thinking we should be doing something? Well, it's not true. You don't have to be doing something.
It's tough, isn't it?
It is really tough. Even if you're sitting in a chair, you're on your phone, or you're thinking about, oh God, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, I should be doing this. Well, those things will still be there to do. This ain't ending anytime soon, and unfortunately. So just allow us. I think we need to allow ourselves a bit of, give ourselves a little bit of a break every now and then, and just say like, you know what, I'm going to sit here and drink some tea.
Yeah. So is there anything that you've started doing to kind of help you through it all, or like new patterns of behavior or new things that you've picked up or started to do?
No, really, I've increased my running. And I don't know if that's to keep my mental health in check, or is it just to get an hour out of the house on my own? I don't know which one yet. That could go either way. It depends on who's listening. But no, I've been doing yoga for years as well. So yoga, I always take myself off for an hour to do my yoga practice, or go for a run. But in pattern wise, I think I should, once this week's over now, I think I'm going to put more of a schedule in place, because I think that's when I'm struggling to think what to do with my son and things like that, or what we should do now. I'm thinking constantly, what can we do next, instead of having it planned. And then, and if I had a plan there, then I can say, right, this, we can have a break now. Go on, off you go, do your thing, and and allow ourselves a break. But at the moment, I'm like, can I do this? Oh, I need to do that, or to do that, and it's a bit higgledy-piggledy all over the place. So I think a bit of a routine would be good, but as long as I factor in plenty of breaks.
No, I'm the same. Our son wakes us up at like 6 o'clock, and then I just roll into the day, and I just definitely need to have more structure there, I think. So you mentioned before Hope Not Hate. Do you think that their work is more or less important at the moment, or could you just explain a little bit about what they do and what they're set up to do?
Yeah, well, Hope Not Hate originally set up as a vehicle for defeating the BNP, and then obviously UKIP came around, and they're an anti-fascist, anti-extremist charity. So they take on all kinds of extremism and dangerous beliefs, I suppose, is the phrase to use. And their work's really good. Jo Cox MP, she left an inheritance to them, and they work closely with her. They do a lot of work in the community, trying to just build communities together. They do a lot of research and data and big things, but they also have an arm where they help people put on family fun days, and get the different religious factions in a community talking together, things like that. And at the moment, really, it's their latest report came out, and it's they are quite busy because they're tying in the fact that this whole 5G conspiracy thing is kicking off, and lots of the far right are tapping into that. And by putting up articles about the 5G causing the coronavirus and all, you've probably heard about that, the conspiracy theories about that. And they're spinning it so people end up on their site, and that's how they get people involved. See, that's how they rope people in. So it's quite dangerous time, really, especially now we're all online. Now is the time more than, now is easier than ever for far right. They are very powerful online, and they're very well established online. But at this moment in time, especially now you've got this thing about the virus coming from China, they're spinning that story now, to breed some xenophobia, and I know there's hate crimes being reported by people of Asian descent and things like that. So it's now their working is just as busy, and it's more important than ever, really, I think.
So just to move on to kind of more positive things, I suppose. What have you seen? Any inspiring stories or actions since the pandemic has started?
I've seen loads, actually. I should. It's a bit remiss of me to forget, but that the war hero doing his 99 and 100 laps of his garden. I mean, that's an incredible story. And then the local things, like we had loads of leaflets come through when it happened. There's a community organized straight away to get deliveries to people. I know people. There's a gentleman called Will who's in the band Beak with Jeff Barrow and Billy Fuller, and he's like, him and his girlfriend are just volunteer drivers. They've just started, he's a musician. He said, well, I got a van, so they're just like delivering shopping to people. I'm seeing loads of that, which I really like. And of course, like coming up now, we've got the clap for carers. That's quite nice to hear. But I think it's the smaller things have been better. I know there's a lot of money being raised by celebrities, which is good. I never want to knock celebrities raising money for things. I think if they've got the platform and they use it, then all, good for them. I don't like these people knocking it. But I do think it's worrying that we're looking at the NHS as a charity. at the moment. We shouldn't need to be raising this money for them. We have to be very careful of that. But there's lots of good things. And I tell you one thing, the Great British sense of humor has been fantastic. The amount of funny memes I've had and jokes, and as a group of mates here in WhatsApp groups and things, we're all sending each other jokes and just trying to keep people's spirits up. And that's more important than ever now than dwelling on the negatives. And like you said, just focus on the positive, plow through, keep funny, keep lighthearted, and just get to the end of it.
Is there anything else you'd like to kind of mention or plug to do with what you're doing, Louder Than War, or anything else that would be useful to kind of get in there?
No, you can follow Louder Than War online for louderthanwar.com for music reviews, and also if you can listen to a radio station called Radio Free Matlock, which is radiofreematlock.co.uk. That's where I do my radio show once a month, but they're doing daily shows now during all the lockdown, and everyone's juggling so many different things to get some really good radio out there. So if you can give those guys a listen, that would be really appreciated.
Okay, so just finally then, in what ways do you hope all of this will shape the future?
Oof, big question. Right, the cynic in me says that not a lot will change, unfortunately. But what I do hope is, I was talking to my friend Anna the other day, and we agreed that there may be the important changes might be on a smaller level, where, like, say someone who's been working a high flying job, earning loads of money, and all of a sudden their job's been lost or they've been furloughed on 80%, and they've realized, I can live quite comfortably on 80%. I don't need to push myself and stress myself. I can find a job that's lower stress, more time with my family, and I don't need as much money. And that's a good change. Hopefully people will do things like that. Hopefully people will shop more from their local produce, like greengrocers and things like that, because our one by here, which we get our fruit and veg from, has been proper busy and doing good business. I think people have realized the importance of local businesses and independent businesses, and they've noticed how they've treated their staff compared to the bigger corporations. I hope people remember certain businesses who shall not be named, but I hope they remember the way they've acted and don't go back and use them again. And I just hope that we do realize that this literally can be all snatched away from us in seconds. And I know it probably won't, but there's a part of me that really, really hopes that people will apply this logic now to the climate crisis.
Yeah.
Because that's obviously incoming, and it's going to be worse than this if we don't do something about it.
Yeah.
And people, the thing about the climate change is it's just such a big, big topic, a big discussion, that people, it's quite easy to park over there, to your left, and it's over there, it's not me.
Yep.
Well, when something like this happens, it realizes that nature can turn on you in a second, and you can be done for, and it can be taken from you, and your life can change. And hopefully people will apply this, remember this now, and think, right, we do need to start looking after it. We do, admire the fact and how quickly it can recover, because you've seen it on the news, obviously, how nature's been recovering in places. And it's been lovely now. You're in planes going over all the time, and cars. I hear bird song all day.
Yeah, it's wonderful, isn't it?
It's beautiful, and it's just so I think hopefully it's the little changes in each individual that will, you're not going to change everyone. We are humans. There are going to be certain factions of industry and things like that will want to go back to normal, but hopefully enough people will do a small change within their personal life where they will be better, I suppose, spiritually in a way, and mentally and physically for their families. People should realize that they don't need to work themselves into an early grave. It's not that important. You got the important things, and hopefully they'll take that with them. That's what I hope happens anyway.
Thanks, Si. That's a perfect note to end on, I think.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks for listening to Positive Negative.
Don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter at PosNegative, or find us on Facebook.
And join in the conversation using the hashtag PosNegative.
You can help us to grow by leaving us a review and sharing this episode with your friends and followers.
You'll also find links to what we've talked about in the show notes, or by visiting positivenegativepodcast.com.